Sarah Martinez looked at the letter in her hands. Her daughter Emma had brought it home from school. The paper was white with blue writing. It talked about a talent show at the school. Parents could join in if they wanted to. Sarah put the letter on the kitchen table. She did not want to think about it. She was busy with her job at the hospital. She worked there every day helping doctors and nurses. There was always something to do. Papers to file, people to call, problems to fix. Emma ran into the kitchen. Her brown hair bounced as she moved. She was 8 years old and full of energy. She saw the letter on the table. "Mom, did you read it?" Emma asked. Her eyes were bright with excitement. Sarah nodded. "Yes, I read it. Are you going to do something for the show?" Emma asked. She climbed onto a chair next to her mother. Sarah shook her head. "I don't think so, honey. I'm too busy with work." Emma's face fell. She looked sad. "But Mom, it would be so cool if you did something. All the other parents are going to do things." Sarah felt bad when she saw Emma's sad face, but she could not imagine herself on a stage. She did not like being in front of people. She liked to stay in the background. At work, she helped make things run smooth, but she never wanted to be the center of attention. The next day at work, Sarah could not stop thinking about the letter. She sat at her desk and typed on her computer. But her mind kept going back to Emma's sad face. Her friend Maria came to her desk. Maria worked at the hospital too. She was always happy and full of life. "You look worried," Maria said. "What's wrong?" Sarah told her about the talent show. She explained how Emma wanted her to do something, but she was scared to perform in front of people. Maria listened carefully. Then she smiled. "What would you do if you joined the show?" Sarah thought for a moment. "I used to play piano when I was young, but that was a long time ago." "How long ago?" Maria asked. "I stopped playing when I was 24. I was 10. "Years ago," Sarah said. "I haven't touched a piano since then." Maria's eyes got wide. "You play piano? That's amazing. Why did you stop?" Sarah's face became sad. She looked down at her hands. "My mother died. She was the one who taught me to play. After she died, I just couldn't do it anymore. It made me too sad." Maria put her hand on Sarah's shoulder. "I'm sorry about your mother, but maybe it's time to try again. Your daughter wants to see you do something special." Sarah went home that day thinking about what Maria said. Emma was at the kitchen table doing her homework. She looked up when Sarah came in. "Hi, Mom," Emma said. "How was work?" "It was good," Sarah said. She sat down next to Emma. "Can I ask you something?" Emma nodded. "Why do you want me to be in the talent show so much?" Sarah asked. Emma put down her pencil. She thought for a moment. "Because you're my mom, and I think you're special. I want everyone to see how special you are." Sarah felt her heart get warm. Emma always knew how to say the right thing. That evening, Sarah called the school. She talked to Mrs. Johnson, Emma's music teacher. Mrs. Johnson was happy to hear from her. "I was hoping you would call," Mrs. Johnson said. "Emma told me you used to play piano." "A little bit," Sarah said. She did not want to make it sound like she was very good. "That's wonderful," Mrs. Johnson said. "We need more parents to join the show. You don't have to do anything hard. Maybe just play a simple song. Something like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, or Mary Had a Little Lamb. Just something easy and fun." Sarah felt better when she heard this. A simple song sounded okay. She could probably remember how to play something easy. "When is the show?" Sarah asked. "It's in 3 weeks," Mrs. Johnson said. "That gives you time to practice. You can use the piano at school if you need to. Just let me know." After Sarah hung up the phone, she found Emma in the living room. Emma was watching TV. "Emma," Sarah said. "I called your teacher." Emma turned around fast. "Really? What did you say?" "I told her I would be in the talent show," Sarah said. Emma jumped up from the couch. She ran to Sarah and gave her a big hug. "Mom, this is the best news ever." Sarah hugged Emma back. She felt nervous but also happy. Emma was so excited. Maybe this would not be so bad after all. That night, Sarah lay in bed thinking. She had not played piano in 10 years. Would she remember how? Her fingers used to move across the keys like they were dancing. But now they only typed on computer keyboards and filled out forms. She thought about her mother. Her mother's name was Rosa. Rosa had taught Sarah to play when she was just 5 years old. They would sit together at the old piano in their living room. Rosa would put her hands over Sarah's hands and guide her fingers to the right keys. Music is like magic, Rosa used to say. When you play from your heart, beautiful things happen. Sarah missed her mother every day. When Rosa got sick and died, Sarah felt like the music died too. She could not touch the piano anymore. It hurt too much, but now Emma wanted to see her play. Maybe it was time to try again? Maybe she could play just a simple song, nothing fancy. Just something to make Emma happy. Sarah made a decision. Tomorrow she would go to the school and try to play the piano. She would see if her fingers still remembered what to do. If it was too hard, she could always change her mind. She closed her eyes and tried to sleep. But she kept thinking about piano keys and music notes. For the first time in 10 years, she was thinking about playing music again. In the morning, Emma was extra happy at breakfast. She ate her cereal quickly and got ready for school fast. I can't wait to tell my friends that you're going to be in the show, Emma said as they walked to the car. Sarah smiled but felt butterflies in her stomach. She hoped she was making the right choice. She hoped she could remember how to play piano. Most of all, she hoped she would not disappoint Emma. As they drove to school, Sarah made a promise to herself. She would try her best. Even if she was scared, she would do this for Emma. Her daughter believed in her. Maybe it was time to believe in herself too. Sarah stood outside her old house. She had not been here in 6 months. The house looked the same as always. White walls and a red door. But it felt different to her now. This was the house where she grew up, where her mother taught her to play piano, where her father had lived until he died 2 years ago. Now the house was empty. Sarah owned it but could not bring herself to sell it. She took the key from her purse. Her hands shook a little as she put it in the lock. The door opened with a creak. The smell of the old house filled her nose. It smelled like her childhood, like her mother's cooking and her father's coffee. Sarah walked inside slowly. Everything was covered with white sheets. The furniture looked like ghosts in the dim light. Dust danced in the air where the sun came through the windows. She walked through the living room to the back of the house. There was a door that led to the basement. This was where her mother kept the piano. Sarah had not seen it since the day her mother died. The basement stairs creaked under her feet. Each step made her heart beat faster. At the bottom of the stairs, she reached for the light switch. The old light bulb lit up the room with yellow light. There it was, her mother's piano. It sat in the corner, covered with a large white sheet. Just like everything else in the house, it looked like a ghost. Sarah walked over to it slowly. She could see the shape of the piano under the sheet. It was an old upright piano, dark brown wood with ivory keys. Her mother had bought it when Sarah was 5 years old. "This piano will be yours someday," her mother used to say. "Music will always be with you." But Sarah had left the piano here when she moved out. She could not take it with her. It held too many memories, too much pain. Now she stood in front of it again. She reached out and touched the sheet. The fabric felt old and dusty. She took a deep breath and pulled the sheet away. The piano looked just like she remembered. The wood was still dark and shiny. The keys were a little yellow with age, but it was beautiful. It was like seeing an old friend. Sarah sat down on the piano bench. It was the same bench she had sat on as a child. Her mother had put a cushion on it to make her tall enough to reach the keys. The cushion was still there. She lifted the cover. That protected the keys. The black and white keys looked up at her. They seemed to be waiting for her to touch them. Sarah put her right hand on the keys. Her fingers found the notes for middle C. She pressed the key gently. The sound filled the quiet basement. It was a little out of tune, but still beautiful. She pressed a few more keys. The sounds brought back so many memories. She could almost hear her mother's voice saying, "Keep your wrists up, Sarah. Let your fingers dance on the keys." Sarah tried to play a simple scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. See, her fingers were stiff at first. They did not move as smoothly as they used to, but they still remembered where to go. She played the scale again. This time it sounded better. Her fingers were starting to remember what to do. Then she tried to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. This was the first song her mother had taught her. Her right hand played the melody while her left hand tried to play simple chords. The song sounded okay. Not great, but okay. It was much easier than the hard pieces she used to play. When she was young, she could play songs by Mozart and Chopin. She could play music that made people cry, but now she could barely play a children's song. 10 years without practice had made her fingers forget so much. Sarah felt sad. She had been so good at piano once. Her mother always said she had a gift. Teachers at school said she could be a professional pianist if she wanted, but life got in the way. When her father got sick, she had to help take care of him. She went to college for business instead of music. It was more practical. It would help her get a good job. Then her mother got sick too. Sarah spent all her time at the hospital. She had no time for music. And when her mother died, Sarah felt like the music died with her. Now she was 34 years old. She worked at a hospital doing paperwork. She had not played piano in 10 years. How could she perform in front of all those people at Emma's school? Sarah put her head in her hands. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe she should just tell Emma she changed her mind. But then she thought about Emma's excited face. Emma was so proud that her mother was going to be in the show. Sarah could not disappoint her daughter. She took a deep breath and put her hands back on the keys. She would practice every day until the show. She would work hard to remember how to play. She started with simple songs. Mary Had a Little Lamb, Happy Birthday. Songs that Emma would know. Songs that would make her daughter smile. As Sarah played, something strange happened. Her fingers started to feel more comfortable on the keys. The songs started to sound better, and for the first time in 10 years, playing piano did not make her feel only sad. She thought about her mother. Rosa would be happy to see Sarah playing again. Rosa always said that music was too important to give up forever. Music lives inside you, Rosa used to say. Even when you don't play, it's still there waiting. Maybe her mother was right. Maybe the music had been waiting inside Sarah all this time. Sarah played for an hour. Her fingers were tired and sore. But she felt something she had not felt in a long time. She felt hopeful. When she was ready to leave, Sarah looked around the basement one more time. She decided to take some of her mother's music books home with her. Maybe she could remember how to play some of the songs. She also decided something else. She would bring Emma here soon. Emma should see her grandmother's piano. She should know where her mother learned to play music. On the drive home, Sarah thought about what Mrs. Johnson had said. Play something simple. Something like Twinkle, Little Star. That would be fine for the talent show, but deep inside Sarah felt something stirring. Something that had been asleep for 10 years. As her fingers remembered how to move on the piano keys, other memories were coming back too. Memories of beautiful music. Memories of playing songs that made people stop and listen. Memories of feeling like the piano was part of her soul. Maybe, just maybe, she could play something more than just a simple children's song. Maybe she could play something that would make Emma proud. Something that would honor her mother's memory. Sarah smiled as she drove home. Tomorrow she would go back to the basement. She would practice more. She would see what her fingers could remember. For the first time since her mother died, Sarah was excited about music again. The talent show was still 2.5 weeks away. That was enough time to remember how to play. Enough time to make something beautiful happen. When she got home, Emma was waiting for her. "Where did you go, Mom?" Emma asked. "I went to practice piano," Sarah said. Emma's eyes got big. "Really? How did it go?" Sarah hugged her daughter. "It went better than I thought it would. I think I'm going to surprise you at the talent show." Emma jumped up and down. "I can't wait, Mom." "This is going to be the best talent show ever," Sarah laughed. She hoped Emma was right. Sarah walked into the school building. It was late in the afternoon. Most of the children had gone home. The halls were quiet and empty. Her footsteps echoed as she walked to the music room. Mrs. Johnson had given her a key to the room. She could come practice whenever she wanted. Sarah was grateful for this. The school piano was in better shape than her mother's old piano. She opened the music room door and turned on the lights. The room was small but cozy. There were pictures of famous musicians on the walls. Mozart, Beethoven, and others smiled. Down at her the piano sat in the corner. It was a black baby grand piano, much nicer than what Sarah had expected to find in an elementary school. Someone had donated it to the school years ago. Sarah sat down at the piano bench. She had been practicing for 5 days now. Each day she felt a little better. Her fingers were starting to remember more things. She began with her warm-up exercises, simple scales and finger movements. Her mother had always made her do these before playing songs. "Your fingers are like athletes," Rosa used to say. "They need to warm up before they work hard." After the scales, Sarah played the simple song she had planned for the talent show. "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star" sounded much better now. Her fingers moved smoothly across the keys. The timing was good. It would be fine for the show, but as she finished the simple song, something happened. Her fingers did not want to stop playing. They moved to other keys. They found the notes for a song she had not played in years. It was a piece by Chopin, a simple waltz that her mother had taught her when she was 16. Sarah's fingers remembered exactly where to go. The beautiful melody filled the empty music room. Sarah closed her eyes as she played. The music took her back to her mother's living room. She could almost feel Rosa sitting next to her on the piano bench, guiding her hands, encouraging her too. Play with feeling. When the waltz ended, Sarah opened her eyes. She felt strange, good but strange. The music had felt so natural. Like putting on a comfortable old sweater, she decided to try another piece. This time she played a song by Bach. It was more complicated than the Chopin waltz. Her fingers had to move quickly and precisely. At first, she made some mistakes. But as she played through the piece several times, it got better. Her muscle memory was coming back. Her fingers were remembering things her brain had forgotten. Sarah lost track of time. She played one song after another. Some she remembered completely, others came back to her in pieces. But each song felt like finding a lost treasure. She was so focused on the music that she did not hear the footsteps in the hallway. She did not see the janitor stop outside the music room door. Mr. Pete was an older man who had worked at the school for 15 years. He was mopping the floors when he heard the piano music. At first, he thought it was a recording, but then he realized someone was actually playing. Mr. Pete set down his mop and walked closer to the music room. He had heard many people play this piano over the years, students, teachers, and parents, but this was different. This was beautiful. He stood in the doorway and listened. The woman at the piano was completely focused on her playing. Her hands moved across the keys like they were telling a story. Sarah was now playing a piece she had learned in high school. It was called Clair de Lune by Debussy. It was a song about moonlight, soft and dreamy and mysterious. As she played, Sarah began to add her own touches to the music. She changed the timing in some places. She made some notes louder and others softer. She was not just playing the song. She was making it her own. Mr. Pete had never heard anything like it. The music seemed to float through the halls of the school. Other people began to notice too. Mrs. Garcia was staying late to grade papers. She heard the music from her classroom and came to see who was playing. She stood next to Mr. Pete in the doorway, amazed by what she heard. Then Mrs. Johnson arrived. She had come back to school to get some books she had forgotten. When she heard the piano music, she could not believe her ears. This was the same woman who had asked to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Sarah finished Clair de Lune and paused. She was breathing hard. Playing these difficult pieces was like running a race. Her heart was beating fast, but she felt wonderful. She looked up and saw the 3 people standing in the doorway. Her face turned red with embarrassment. "Oh, I'm sorry," Sarah said. "I didn't know anyone was here." I hope I wasn't disturbing you. Mrs. Johnson stepped into the room. Disturbing us? Sarah, that was incredible. How long have you been playing piano? Sarah felt shy. I started when I was 5, but I stopped 10 years ago. I'm just trying to remember some old songs. Those weren't just old songs, Mrs. Garcia said. That was real music. Beautiful music. Mr. Pete nodded. I've been working here for 15 years. I've never heard anyone play like that. Sarah did not know what to say. She had just been practicing. She had not meant to perform for anyone. Mrs. Johnson sat down next to Sarah on the piano bench. Why did you tell me you only wanted to play simple songs? You're amazing. Sarah looked down at her hands. I haven't played in so long. I didn't think I could still do it. I thought I had lost my ability. Lost your ability? Mrs. Johnson laughed. Sarah, you're one of the most talented pianists I've ever heard. What made you stop playing? Sarah's eyes became sad. My mother died. She was my teacher. After she was gone, I couldn't play anymore. It hurt too much. The room became quiet. Everyone understood how hard that must have been. Mrs. Johnson put her hand on Sarah's shoulder. I'm sorry about your mother, but I think she would be proud to hear you play like this. Sarah wiped a tear from her eye. Maybe she always said music was too important to give up. She was right, Mrs. Johnson said. You have a gift, Sarah, a real gift. Sarah felt confused. For years, she had thought her musical ability was gone. Forever. She had convinced herself that she was just a regular person who used to play piano, but tonight, sitting at this piano, she felt like her old self again. The music flowed out of her like water from a spring. It felt natural and right. What? Are you going to play for the talent show? Mrs. Garcia asked. Sarah thought about this. She had planned to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It would be safe and simple. No one would expect much from her. But now she wondered if she should play something else. Something that would show what she could really do. I'm not sure. Sarah said, I was going to play something simple. But maybe ... double quote, Mrs. Johnson asked. Maybe I could play something a little more challenging, Sarah said. Something that would make Emma proud, Mrs. Johnson smiled. I think Emma would be proud of you no matter what you play. But if you want to play something special, you should do it. Sarah looked at the piano keys. So many possibilities. So many songs she could play. For the first time in 10 years, she felt excited about performing music. Can I keep practicing here? Sarah asked. I want to work on something new. Of course, Mrs. Johnson said. Use this room whenever you want. I think you're going to create something wonderful. After the others left, Sarah stayed at the piano for another hour. She tried different pieces, seeing which ones felt right. She wanted to find the perfect song for the talent show. It needed to be something beautiful, something that would honor her mother's memory, something that would make Emma proud, and something that would show everyone that music was still alive inside her. As she played, Sarah felt something she had not felt in years. She felt like a musician again. Not just someone who used to play piano, but someone who could create beauty with music. The talent show was still 2 weeks away. She had time to prepare something special, something that would surprise everyone, including herself. When Sarah finally left the school that night, she was smiling. Tomorrow she would come back and practice more. She would find the perfect piece to play. For the first time since her mother died, Sarah was truly excited about making music. The word was spreading. Sarah did not know it, but people were talking about her. Mrs. Johnson had told other teachers about the amazing piano player. Mrs. Garcia had mentioned it to other parents at pickup time. Mr. Pete had told his wife about the beautiful music he heard in the halls. At the grocery store, Sarah ran into Mrs. Wilson. Mrs. Wilson's daughter was in Emma's class. Sarah, Mrs. Wilson called out, I heard you're going to play piano at the talent show. That's so exciting. Sarah smiled but felt nervous. Yes, I'm going to play something simple. Oh, I heard it's going to be wonderful, Mrs. Wilson said. Mrs. Garcia told me you're really talented. She said you play like a professional. Sarah's stomach felt funny. She had not expected people to talk about her performance before it even happened. When she got home, Emma was full of questions. Mom, kids at school are saying you're going to play something amazing, Emma said. Is that true? Sarah sat down next to Emma on the couch. I'm going to do my best, honey. But I don't want you to expect too much. I haven't played piano in a long time. Emma's eyes were bright with excitement. But Mom, everyone is talking about how good you are. Jenny's mom heard you practicing at school. She said it was the most beautiful music she ever heard. Sarah felt her heart beat faster. The pressure was building. People were expecting something special from her. What if she disappointed them? That night, Sarah could not sleep well. She kept thinking about all the people who would be watching her at the talent show. What if she made mistakes? What if she forgot how to play in the middle of a song? The next day at work, more people talked to her about the talent show. Her boss, Dr. Martinez, stopped by her desk. I heard you're going to perform at your daughter's school, he said. That's wonderful. I didn't know you were musical. I used to play piano, Sarah said, but I'm very rusty. I'm sure you'll do great, Dr. Martinez said. My wife and I might come to watch. We love piano music. After Dr. Martinez left, Sarah put her head in her hands. Now her boss wanted to come watch her play. The pressure was getting worse. Her friend Maria noticed that Sarah looked worried. What's wrong? Maria asked. You should be excited about the talent show. Sarah told Maria about all the people who were expecting her to play something amazing. She explained how nervous she was getting. I was going to play a simple children's song, Sarah said. But now everyone thinks I'm going to play something incredible. What if I disappoint them? Maria sat down next to Sarah's desk. What do you want to play? Forget about what other people expect. What would make you happy? Sarah thought about this question. When she was alone at the piano, practicing in the quiet music room, what did she want to play? There's a piece by Rachmaninoff, Sarah said. Slowly, it's called Piano Concerto No. 2. I used to play part of it when I was younger. It's beautiful but very difficult. Why don't you play that? Maria asked. Because it's too hard, Sarah said. And it's too long. And what if I mess up in front of everyone? Maria smiled. Sarah, you've been practicing every day for 2 weeks. You said your fingers are remembering how to play. Maybe you're better than you think you are. That afternoon, Sarah went to the school music room again. She had been coming every day after work. The piano felt like an old friend now. She sat down and played her warm-up scales. Then she played the simple song she had planned for the talent show. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star sounded perfect now. She could play it without any mistakes, but then she thought about what Maria had said. What did she really want to play? Sarah opened one of her mother's old music books. She found the piece by Rachmaninoff. The notes looked complicated on the page, but her fingers remembered some of it. She began to play slowly. The opening notes were soft and sad. They reminded her of her mother, of loss and love and hope. As she played, Sarah made changes to the music. She added her own style to it. She made some parts louder and others softer. She changed the timing to make it more emotional. The music grew stronger and more powerful. Sarah felt like she was telling a story with the piano keys. A story about losing someone you love, about finding your way back to joy, about discovering that some things never really leave you. When she finished playing, Sarah sat quietly for a moment. The music had felt perfect, like it was meant to be played by her at this time in this place. She heard soft clapping behind her. Sarah turned around and saw Emma standing in the doorway. Emma's teacher had brought her to the music room. Mom, Emma said with tears in her eyes. That was the most beautiful thing I ever heard. Sarah's heart filled with love. Did you really like it, sweetheart? Emma ran to the piano and hugged her mother. I loved it. Is that what you're going to play at the talent show? Sarah looked at her daughter's excited face. Then she looked at the music on the piano. Then she made a decision. Yes, Sarah said. That's what I'm going to play. But that night, doubt crept back in. Sarah lay in bed thinking about all the things that could go wrong. What if she forgot the music? What if her hands shook too much? What if people expected too much? Her husband Mark could see that she was worried. You don't have to play that difficult piece, he said. You could still play something simple. There's nothing wrong with keeping it easy. But Emma heard me play the Rachmaninoff piece, Sarah said. She loved it. And I think I love it too. Mark held her hand. Then play it. You've been working so hard. You're ready? What if I'm not? Sarah asked. What if I embarrass myself in front of everyone? Then you'll survive, Mark said gently. And you'll know you tried to do something brave. The talent show was now only 1 week away. Sarah practiced every day. Some days the music felt perfect. Other days she made mistakes and felt frustrated. She called her old piano teacher, Mrs. Patterson. Mrs. Patterson was elderly now, but still gave piano lessons. Sarah, Mrs. Patterson said happily, I heard you're playing piano again. I'm so glad. Sarah told her about the talent show and how nervous she was feeling. Nerves are normal, Mrs. Patterson said. Even professional musicians get nervous. The important thing is to remember why you're playing. Why am I playing? Sarah asked. You're playing because music is part of who you are, Mrs. Patterson said. You're playing to honor your mother's memory. You're playing to show your daughter that it's never too late to follow your dreams. After the phone call, Sarah felt better. Mrs. Patterson was right. This was not just about performing for other people. This was about finding herself again. The next day at work, Dr. Martinez stopped by her desk again. How are the preparations going for the talent show? He asked. Good, Sarah said. I'm nervous, but I think it will be okay. I have to confess something, Dr. Martinez said. Word has gotten around the hospital about your piano playing. Some of the staff are planning to come watch you perform. Sarah's eyes got wide. Really? Really, Dr. Martinez said. We're all excited to see this hidden talent of yours. Sarah felt the pressure building again. Now people from work wanted to come watch her play. What had started as a simple performance for her daughter had turned into something much bigger that evening. Sarah practiced extra hard. She played the Rachmaninoff piece over and over until her fingers ached. She wanted it to be perfect, but as she played, she tried to remember what Mrs. Patterson had said. She was not just performing for other people. She was playing for herself, for her mother. For Emma, she was playing because music was part of her soul. And it was time to let that part of herself shine again. The talent show was 6 days away. Sarah was as ready as she would ever be. Now she just had to find the courage to let everyone see what she could do. The day of the talent show arrived. Sarah woke up early, even though it was Saturday. Her stomach felt nervous and excited at the same time. Today was the day she would play piano in front of hundreds of people. Emma bounced into her parents' bedroom. At 7 in the morning, Mom, Dad, it's talent show day, Emma shouted. She jumped on the bed between her parents. Sarah smiled at her daughter's excitement. Emma had been talking about this day for weeks. She had told all her friends that her mom was going to play something amazing. Are you nervous, Mom? Emma asked as Sarah sat up in bed. A little bit, but I'm excited too. I'm not nervous, Emma said. I know you're going to be wonderful. After breakfast, Sarah went to take a shower. The warm water felt good, but it did not wash away her nervous feelings. In a few hours, she would be sitting at a piano in front of all those people. She thought about the piece she was going to play. She had practiced it so many times that she could play it in her sleep. But performing in front of people was different than practicing alone. When Sarah got out of the shower, she found a surprise waiting for her. Mark had brought her coffee in bed. Next to the coffee was a small wrapped present. What's this? Sarah asked. Open it, Mark said with a smile. Inside the box was a silver bracelet. It had a small charm that looked like a piano. It's beautiful, Sarah said. But what's it for? It's for good luck, Mark said. And to remind you that you're a musician. You always have been, even when you forgot. Sarah put on the bracelet. It felt good on her wrist. Like a small reminder of who she really was. The talent show would start at 7 o'clock that evening. Sarah spent the day trying to stay calm. She read a book. She helped Emma pick out her dress for the show. She made lunch for the family, but her mind kept going back to the piano. to the music she would play. 2. All the people who would be watching got at 3 o'clock. Sarah decided to go to the school one last time. She wanted to practice on the same piano she would use for the show. She wanted to make sure everything felt right. The school was busy when she arrived. Parents and children were decorating the auditorium. Someone was testing the microphones. On the stage, everyone looked excited and happy. Sarah made her way to the music room. The piano sat in the corner, waiting for her. She sat down on the bench and placed her hands on the keys. She played through her piece one more time. It sounded good. Her fingers knew exactly where to go. The music flowed smoothly from her hands, but as she played, Sarah noticed something. She was not just playing the notes on the page anymore. She was adding her own feelings to the music. Her own story? Her own heart? The piece was about more than just piano music now. It was about her mother. About Emma. About finding herself again after being lost for so long. When she finished playing, Sarah felt ready. Not perfect, but ready. Mrs. Johnson came into the music room. "How are you feeling?" Mrs. Johnson asked. "Nervous," Sarah said honestly, "but good nervous." "I have something to tell you," Mrs. Johnson said. "We had to move your performance." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. "Move it? What do you mean? We're putting you last," Mrs. Johnson said. "After all the children perform, we want to end the show with something special." Sarah felt her nervous feelings get stronger. Being last meant more pressure. It meant everyone would be waiting for her performance. "Are you okay with that?" Mrs. Johnson asked. Sarah took a deep breath. "Yes, I think that will be fine." At 5 o'clock, Sarah went home to get ready. She put on a simple black dress and her mother's pearl earrings. She wanted to look nice, but not too fancy. Emma was wearing her favorite blue dress. She had brushed her hair until it shined. "You look beautiful, Mom," Emma said. "Thank you, sweetheart. You look beautiful too." Mark drove them to the school. The parking lot was already full of cars. Families were walking into the building carrying flowers and cameras. Inside the auditorium, Sarah saw how many people had come. The room was packed. Every seat was taken. Some people were standing in the back. Sarah's nervous feelings got much stronger. She had not expected so many people. "There are a lot of people here," she whispered to Mark. "They all came to see something special," Mark said. "And you're going to give them something special." Sarah saw some familiar faces in the crowd. Dr. Martinez was there with his wife. Mrs. Wilson and her family had come. Even Mrs. Patterson, her old piano teacher, was sitting in the front row. "Look, Mom," Emma said. Mrs. Patterson came to hear. "You play?" Sarah waved at her old teacher. Mrs. Patterson smiled and gave her a thumbs up. The talent show began at 7 o'clock exactly. The first act was a group of kindergarten children singing "The Wheels on the Bus." They were adorable, and everyone clapped loudly. Sarah sat backstage with the other performers. There were children who would dance, sing, and do magic tricks. Parents who would tell jokes and play instruments. Everyone looked excited and happy, but Sarah's hands were shaking a little. Her mouth felt dry. The nervous butterflies in her stomach were flying around like crazy. One by one, the acts performed. A little boy played violin. Twin sisters did a gymnastics routine. A father and daughter sang a duet. Each performance was sweet and fun. The audience clapped and cheered for everyone. Sarah could hear the happy sounds from backstage, but she was having trouble focusing. Her mind kept thinking about her own performance. "You're going to be great," said Mrs. Rodriguez, another parent who was performing. "I can tell you're a real musician." "Thank you," Sarah said. But inside she was thinking, what if I'm not? What if I mess up? Finally, it was almost time for the last performance. Sarah's performance. Mrs. Johnson came backstage to get her. "Are you ready?" Mrs. Johnson asked. Sarah stood up on shaky legs. "I think so." "Remember," Mrs. Johnson said, "just play from your heart. That's what music is about." Sarah walked to the side of the stage. She could see the piano waiting for her in the spotlight. She could see all the faces in the audience, so many people, all waiting to hear her play. Emma was sitting in the front row with Mark. She gave her mom a big smile and a thumbs up. That made Sarah feel a little better. Mrs. Johnson walked onto the stage to introduce her. Our final performer tonight is Sarah Martinez, Mrs. Johnson said into the microphone. Sarah is Emma's mom, and she's going to play piano for us. Some of you may know that Sarah hasn't played piano in many years, but over the past few weeks she's been practicing hard to share her musical gift with all of us tonight. The audience clapped. Sarah heard someone whistle. She thought it might be Mark. So, please give a warm welcome to Sarah Martinez, Mrs. Johnson said. This was it. Time to walk onto the stage. Time to sit at the piano. Time to play music for all these people. Sarah took a deep breath. She thought about her mother. She thought about Emma. She thought about the music that lived inside her heart. Then she walked onto the stage. The lights were bright. The audience was quiet. Everyone was looking at her. Sarah's heart was beating so fast she was sure everyone could hear it. She walked to the piano and sat down on the bench. She adjusted the seat and placed her hands on the keys. For just a moment, Sarah closed her eyes. She thought about why she was here, not just to perform for other people, but to honor her mother's memory, to show Emma that dreams don't have to die, to find herself again. When she opened her eyes, Sarah looked out at the audience one more time. She saw Emma's bright, excited face. She saw Mark's encouraging smile. She saw Mrs. Patterson nodding at her with pride. Then Sarah looked down at the piano keys and made her final decision about what to play. Sarah's fingers touched the piano keys. The auditorium was completely quiet. Even the little children had stopped fidgeting. Everyone was waiting to hear what she would play. For a moment, Sarah thought about playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It would be safe, easy, no one would expect much, and she could not disappoint them. But then she looked at Emma's face. Her daughter's eyes were shining with excitement and love. Emma believed in her completely. Sarah made her choice. She would play the Rachmaninoff piece. She would play it with all her heart. Her fingers found the opening notes, soft and gentle like a whisper. The music floated through the auditorium like morning mist. The audience seemed to lean forward. This was not what they had expected. This was not a simple children's song. This was real music. Beautiful music. Sarah's left hand joined her right hand on the keys. The melody grew stronger and more complex. Her fingers moved across the keys like they were dancing. As she played, something magical happened. Sarah forgot about the audience. She forgot about her nerves. She forgot about everything except the music. The piano seemed to come alive under her hands. Each note was perfect. Each phrase told part of a story, the story of her life. The story of love and loss and hope. In the audience, people stopped breathing. They had come expecting a simple talent show. Instead, they were hearing something extraordinary. Mrs. Patterson, Sarah's old piano teacher, had tears in her eyes. She remembered the young girl who used to play for her. That girl had grown into a woman, but the music was still there. Still beautiful. Still pure. Dr. Martinez leaned over to his wife. I had no idea, he whispered. She's incredible. Mark felt his heart swell with pride. This was his wife up there. The woman he loved was creating something beautiful for everyone to hear. But it was Emma who felt the most wonder. She had always known her mom was special, but now everyone else could see it too. Her mom was making magic with the piano. Sarah's playing grew more confident as the piece continued. Her fingers flew across the keys, playing complex passages that would challenge even professional musicians. But she made it look easy, natural. She had changed the original piece, adding her own style to it. Where the music called for sadness, she played with the pain of losing her mother. Where it called for joy, she played with the happiness of finding music again. The audience was completely silent. Even the youngest children seemed to understand that something special was happening. Sarah played a passage that sounded like birds singing in the morning. Then she played notes that sounded like rain falling on a roof. The music painted pictures in people's minds. An older woman in the third row closed her eyes and remembered dancing with her husband 50 years ago. A teenage boy in the back thought about his girlfriend and how much he missed her. A little girl imagined she was a princess in a fairy tale. The music spoke to everyone differently, but it spoke to everyone. As Sarah played, she thought about her mother. Rosa would be so proud to see her daughter performing again. Rosa had always said that music was meant to be shared, not hidden away. Play with your whole heart, Rosa used to say. Let people feel what you feel. Sarah was doing exactly that. Every note came from deep inside her. Every phrase carried her emotions. The music was not just sound anymore. It was feeling made audible, the piece built to a powerful climax. Sarah's hands moved faster and faster across the keys. The music filled every corner of the auditorium. It seemed to lift people out of their seats and carry them to another world. Then, just as suddenly as it had grown powerful, the music became soft again. Sarah played the ending with gentle, loving touches. Like a mother singing a lullaby to her child, the final notes hung in the air like stars. Sarah lifted her hands from the keys and the music stopped. For a moment, the auditorium was completely silent. No one moved, no one breathed. The magic of the music still filled the air. Sarah sat at the piano, her heart pounding. She had done it. She had played the entire piece without making any major mistakes. But more than that, she had played it with all her heart. She looked out at the audience. Hundreds of faces stared back at her. Some people had tears in their eyes, others looked amazed. A few looked like they could not believe what they had just heard. Then someone started clapping. Sarah could not see who it was, but the clapping spread through the auditorium like a wave. Soon everyone was applauding, but this was not ordinary clapping. This was the kind of applause that comes from deep appreciation. The kind that says, "Thank you for sharing something beautiful with us." People started standing up. First just a few, then more and more. Soon the entire auditorium was on its feet, giving Sarah a standing ovation. Sarah felt overwhelmed. She had not expected this kind of response. She had just been playing music. Music that came from her heart. She stood up and took a small bow. The applause got even louder. Some people were shouting, "Bravo!" Others were wiping tears from their eyes. Emma jumped up from her seat and ran onto the stage. She hugged her mother tightly. "Mom, that was the most beautiful thing in the whole world," Emma said. Sarah hugged her daughter back. "Thank you, sweetheart. I love you so much." Mark came onto the stage too. He kissed his wife and whispered in her ear, "I'm so proud of you." Mrs. Johnson took the microphone, but she had to wait for the applause to die down before she could speak. "Ladies and gentlemen," Mrs. Johnson finally said, "I think we can all agree that was extraordinary. Sarah Martinez, everyone." The applause started again. Sarah looked out at all the happy faces. She saw her co-workers from the hospital cheering. She saw parents from Emma's class with their mouths still open in amazement. She saw Mrs. Patterson in the front row, crying tears of joy. A man in the back of the auditorium was taking notes on a small pad. Sarah did not know who he was. His name was David Chun, and he was a talent agent. He had come to watch his nephew perform earlier in the show. But now he was very interested in talking to Sarah. As the applause finally began to fade, Sarah felt something she had not felt in 10 years. She felt like a musician again. Not just someone who used to play piano, but someone who could create beauty and share it with the world. The music was back in her life. And this time, she was not going to let it go. People began to come onto the stage to congratulate her. Children who had performed earlier wanted to shake her hand. Parents wanted to tell her how much they enjoyed her playing. "That was amazing," sighed Mrs. Rodriguez. "I've never heard anything like it." "You should be on television," said Mr. Peterson, another parent. "Do you give piano lessons?" Asked several people. Sarah felt dizzy from all the attention. Just a month ago she was unknown. Just another parent who worked at the hospital. Now everyone wanted to talk to her, but through all the congratulations and excitement, Sarah kept thinking about one thing. She had found herself again. The music that had been sleeping inside her for 10 years was awake. And it felt wonderful. As the crowd in the auditorium began to thin out, Sarah sat back down at the piano. She played a few soft notes. The same keys that had seemed so scary an hour ago now felt like old friends. Emma sat next to her on the piano bench. "Will you teach me to play like that, Mom?" Emma asked, though Sarah smiled and put her arm around her daughter. "I'll teach you everything I know, but first, you have to promise me something." "What?" Emma asked. "Promise me you'll never give up on your dreams, even if they seem impossible, even if other people don't understand. Promise me you'll always follow your heart." Emma nodded seriously. "I promise, Mom." Sarah played a simple melody with one hand while Emma watched. It was "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star," the song she had originally planned to play. "That's pretty," Emma said. "But I like the other song better," Sarah laughed. "I like the other song better, too." As they sat together at the piano, Sarah knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in her life. A chapter where music would be part of every day, where she would not hide her gifts anymore. The talent show was over. But Sarah's journey as a musician was just starting again. The silence after Sarah's performance seemed to last forever. Then it happened all at once. The applause started like thunder, rolling through the auditorium in waves. People jumped to their feet. Some were crying. Others were cheering. Sarah sat at the piano, trying to understand what was happening. She had just played music from her heart. But the response was bigger than anything she had imagined. "Bravo! Bravo!" Someone shouted from the back. An elderly man in the front row was wiping his eyes with a handkerchief. A teenage girl was recording the applause on her phone. Parents were looking at each other with amazement. Emma was the first to reach the stage. She ran to her mother and threw her arms around her. "That was like magic," Emma said, her voice full of wonder. Sarah hugged her daughter tightly. "Did you really like it?" "Like it?" "I loved it. Everyone loved it." Emma looked out at the clapping audience. "Look at all these people." Mark reached the stage next. He had tears in his eyes as he kissed his wife. "Sarah, that was incredible," he said. "I knew you were talented, but I had no idea. "Neither did I," Sarah whispered back. Mrs. Johnson took the microphone, but she had to wait several minutes for the applause to calm down. "Ladies and gentlemen," she finally said, "I think we have all just witnessed something very special. Sarah Martinez has given us a gift tonight. A gift of beautiful music played with incredible skill and heart." The applause started again. Sarah felt overwhelmed by all the attention. She was not used to being the center of so much excitement. As the clapping died down, people began to approach the stage. They wanted to talk to Sarah, to congratulate her, to understand what they had just experienced. "That was the most beautiful piano playing I've ever heard," said Mrs. Rodriguez, tears still in her eyes. "You should be performing in concert halls," said Mr. Peterson. "That was professional-level music." "Do you give piano lessons?" asked 3 different parents. "Have you recorded any albums?" asked a young woman. Sarah felt dizzy from all the questions and compliments. Just an hour ago, she had been terrified of playing in front of people. Now everyone wanted to talk to her. I don't know what to say," Sarah stammered. "I just played a song I remembered from when I was younger." "That wasn't just a song," said an older gentleman. "That was art. Pure art." In the back of the auditorium, David Chen was still taking notes. He was a talent agent from the city, and he had driven 2 hours to watch his nephew perform a magic trick. He had not expected to discover a hidden musical gem. David made his way toward the stage. He wanted to talk to Sarah before she left. Meanwhile, people were taking pictures with Sarah. Children who had performed earlier wanted autographs. Adults were asking for her phone number so they could contact her about music lessons. "Mom," Emma whispered, "you're famous." Sarah laughed. "I'm not famous, sweetheart. I just played piano at your school talent show." But Emma was right. In a way, Sarah had become famous, at least in their small community. Word about her performance was already spreading. Parents were calling relatives on their phones. "You should have been here tonight," one mother said. "There was this woman who played piano like you wouldn't believe." Teenagers were posting videos on social media. The recordings were short and not very clear. But they captured the magic of the moment. Mrs. Patterson, Sarah's old piano teacher, finally made it to the stage. She was walking with a cane now, but her face was bright with joy. "Sarah, my dear," Mrs. Patterson said, "that was magnificent. Your mother would be so proud." Sarah felt tears come to her eyes. "Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. I thought about her while I was playing. She was there with you," Mrs. Patterson said softly. "I could feel it in the music." As more people talked to Sarah, she began to realize something important. Her performance had touched people in ways she had not expected. It was not just about the technical skill of playing difficult music. It was about the emotion she had put into it. "You made me think of my grandmother," one woman said. "She used to play piano when I was little." "Your music reminded me of falling in love," said a young man. "I felt like I was flying," said a little girl. Sarah was amazed that her music could make people feel so many different things. She had just been playing from her heart, sharing her own feelings and memories. David Chun finally reached the stage. He waited politely for a break in the conversations. "Excuse me," he said to Sarah. "My name is David Chun. I'm a talent agent from the city. Could I speak with you for a moment?" Sarah looked surprised. "A talent agent? I think you have the wrong person. I'm just a hospital worker who plays piano as a hobby." David smiled. "After what I heard tonight, I don't think music is just a hobby for you. You have real talent, professional level talent." He handed Sarah his business card. "I work with musicians who perform in concert halls, recording studios, and special events. I would love to talk to you about some opportunities." Sarah stared at the business card. This felt like a dream. "I haven't played piano in 10 years. Until this month," she said. "Well, you certainly haven't lost your touch," David said. "Think about it. Call me if you're interested in exploring some possibilities." Mark looked at the business card over Sarah's shoulder. "This is exciting, honey. A real talent agent wants to work with you." But Sarah felt scared. "I don't know anything about the music business." "I'm not a professional performer. You could be," David said. "With talent like yours, you could be anything you want to be in the music world." As the evening continued, more people shared their reactions to Sarah's performance. The comments were all positive, but they were also overwhelming. "You should audition for talent shows on television," suggested one parent. "You could start a YouTube channel," said a teenager. "The city orchestra is always looking for guest performers," mentioned a music teacher from another school. Sarah felt like her head was spinning. A few hours ago, her biggest worry was not making mistakes while playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Now people were talking about television, orchestras, and professional careers. Emma stayed close to her mother's side through all the excitement. She was proud of all the attention her mom was getting, but she could see that Sarah was feeling overwhelmed. "Are you okay, Mom?" Emma asked quietly. Sarah squeezed her daughter's hand. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just surprised by everything." "Do you want to go home now?" Emma asked. Sarah looked around the auditorium. There were still people waiting to talk to her, but she was starting to feel tired from all the excitement. "In a few minutes," Sarah said. "Let me talk to a few more people," but the conversations kept going. Everyone had something to say about her performance. Everyone had suggestions about what she should do next. Dr. Martinez approached with his wife. "Sarah, that was extraordinary. I had no idea we had such a talented musician working at our hospital." "Thank you, Dr. Martinez," Sarah said. "I'm still pretty shocked by everyone's reaction." "You shouldn't be shocked," Dr. Martinez said. "You have a gift, a real gift. Have you thought about giving concerts?" Sarah shook her head. "I never thought about it. Until tonight, I never thought I would play in front of people again." "Well, you should think about it now," Dr. Martinez's wife said. "Music like that should be shared with the world." As the evening finally began to wind down, Sarah felt emotionally exhausted. She had experienced more excitement and attention in one night than she had in years. The auditorium was almost empty now. The cleanup crew was putting away chairs and taking down decorations. But people were still talking about Sarah's performance. That was the best talent show we've ever had, Mrs. Johnson said as she locked up the music room. It was all because of Sarah's performance, said Mr. Pete, the janitor. I've been working here for 15 years and I've never heard anything like that. Sarah and her family finally walked to their car. The parking lot was mostly empty now, but a few people were still discussing the evening. I can't believe my mom is so famous now, Emma said as they drove home. I'm not famous, Sarah protested. I just played piano at a school talent show. But even as she said it, Sarah knew that something big had changed. Her performance had been more than just playing music. It had been a moment of magic that touched everyone who heard it. As they drove through the quiet streets toward home, Sarah thought about all the people who had talked to her, all the suggestions they had made, all the possibilities they had mentioned. For 10 years, she had thought her musical life was over. Tonight, she had discovered that it might just be beginning. 6 months had passed since the talent show that changed everything. Sarah looked out the window of the small coffee shop where she was about to perform. It was Saturday afternoon, and the place was packed with people who had come to hear her play. This was her new life now. She still worked at the hospital 3 days a week, but the other days belonged to music. She performed at coffee shops, small theaters, and community centers. Nothing too big or fancy, but perfect for her. 5 minutes, Sarah, called Tom, the coffee shop owner. He had started booking her once a month after hearing about her talent. Show performance. Sarah nodded and touched the piano charm on her bracelet. It had become her good luck ritual before every performance. In the audience, she could see familiar faces mixed with new ones. Mrs. Patterson was there, as she was for every performance. Dr. Martinez and his wife had driven from the city to hear her play, and in the front row, Emma sat with Mark, beaming with pride. Emma had started taking piano lessons with her mother. They practiced together every evening after homework. Emma was learning quickly, and Sarah loved teaching her. You're going to be wonderful tonight, Mark had said that morning. You always are. Sarah smiled at the memory. Mark was right. She had found her confidence again. Each performance felt more natural than the last. The talent show had opened doors Sarah never expected. David Chen, the talent agent, had called her the week after the performance. But instead of pushing her into big concert halls, he had helped her find smaller venues where she could build her skills gradually. You have something special, David had told her. But you need time to get comfortable performing again. Let's start small and see where it leads. Sarah was grateful for his patience. She was not ready for big stages yet. But these intimate performances felt perfect. She could see people's faces. She could feel their reactions to her music. Tonight's program included the Rachmaninoff piece that had made her famous in their small town. But she had also learned new songs. Some classical pieces, some jazz standards, and even a few popular songs that she arranged in her own style. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom announced to the coffee shop crowd, please welcome Sarah Martinez. The applause was warm and enthusiastic. Sarah walked to the piano, no longer nervous like she used to be. Performing had become natural again. She sat down at the bench and looked out at the audience. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Tonight I want to share some music that means a lot to me. Sarah began with a soft, jazzy version of The Way You Look Tonight. Her arrangement was gentle and romantic. Couples in the audience held hands. An elderly man closed his eyes and swayed to the music. As she played, Sarah thought about how much her life had changed. The scared woman who had been afraid to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star seemed like a different person now, after the jazz piece. Sarah played an original composition she had written. She called it Emma's Song. It was a melody that came to her while watching her daughter practice piano. The song was playful and bright. Just like Emma. When it ended, Emma clapped extra loud from the front row. That was beautiful, Mom. Emma called out, making everyone laugh. Sarah smiled. Thank you, sweetheart. This next piece is for my mother, who taught me that music is one of the most important gifts we can share. She began to play Clair de Lune, the piece she had played that first day back in the school music room. But now it sounded different, more confident. More personal. As the gentle melody filled the coffee shop, Sarah remembered her mother's words. Music is like magic. When you play from your heart, beautiful things happen. Rosa had been right. Beautiful things were happening. After her mother's piece, Sarah played several requests from the audience. She had learned to improvise again, taking simple melodies and making them her own. "Can you play something from a movie?" asked a young woman. Sarah played Beauty and the Beast, transforming the Disney song into something that sounded like classical music. "How about something upbeat?" called a man in the back. Sarah played a jazzy version of I Got Rhythm. That had people tapping their feet and nodding their heads. For her final piece, Sarah played the Rachmaninoff that had started it all. But she had changed it over the months, adding her own touches and making it uniquely hers. As the complex melodies filled the coffee shop, Sarah felt the same magic she had felt at the talent show. The audience was completely silent, lost in the music, when the last note faded away. The applause was immediate and heartfelt. People stood up, just like they had that night at the school. "Bravo!" someone shouted. "More! More!" called others. Sarah stood and took a bow. "Thank you all so much. You've been a wonderful audience." As people began to leave, many stopped to talk to Sarah. This had become routine too. People wanted to tell her how the music made them feel. They wanted to book her for special events. They wanted to know when she would perform next. "Sarah," said a woman she didn't recognize, "my daughter heard about you from a friend. She's learning piano and feeling discouraged. Could you talk to her sometime? I think meeting you would inspire her." "Of course," Sarah said. "I'd be happy to." This was another part of her new life. Sarah had started mentoring young musicians. She taught some private lessons and volunteered at the community center. She wanted to help other people find their musical voices. "You were amazing tonight," said Mrs. Patterson as she prepared to leave. "Your mother would be so proud." "I hope so," Sarah said. "I think about her every time I play." "She's with you," Mrs. Patterson said. "I can hear it in your music." David Chun appeared as the crowd was thinning out. He had driven up from the city to hear Sarah's latest performance. "You're getting better every time I hear you," he said. "Are you ready to talk about some bigger opportunities?" Sarah considered this. 6 months ago, she would have been terrified. But now she felt more confident. "What kind of opportunities?" she asked. "There's a summer music festival that would love to have you perform," David said. "It's outdoors, about 1,000 people. Still intimate, but bigger than this." Sarah looked at Emma, who was pretending not to listen but clearly hanging on every word. "Can I think about it?" Sarah asked. "Of course," David said. "Take your time. But don't wait too long. People are starting to hear about you beyond this town." It was true. Videos of Sarah's performances had started appearing online. Music bloggers had written about the hospital worker turned pianist who was creating magic in small venues. Sarah was not quite ready for fame, but she was no longer afraid of it either. As they drove home that night, Emma was full of excitement about the performance. "Mom, you were so good tonight." "And did you hear what Mr. Chun said about the festival?" "I heard," Sarah said. "What do you think I should do?" "I think you should do it," Emma said immediately. "You're the best piano player in the world," Mark laughed. "I don't know about the world, but you're definitely the best in our family." Sarah smiled. "Maybe I will consider the festival. But slowly, I want to keep enjoying this journey." At home, Sarah sat at her mother's old piano, which she had finally moved to their living room. Emma sat next to her on the bench. "Can we play our duet?" Emma asked. Sarah and Emma had been working on a simple piece they could play together. 4 hands on one piano. It was Emma's favorite part of their practice time. As they played together, Sarah marveled at how much had changed. 6 months ago, she had been afraid to touch a piano. Now she was performing regularly and teaching her daughter to love music. The simple song she had been asked to play at the talent show had unlocked everything. It had reminded her that music was not just something she used to do, it was part of who she was. "Mom," Emma said as they finished their duet, "will you teach?" Me the Rachmaninoff piece someday? Sarah laughed. That's a very difficult piece, sweetheart. It will take years of practice. I don't mind, Emma said. I want to play like you, Sarah hugged her daughter. You don't need to play like me. You need to play like you. Music is personal. Emma, it comes from your own heart. But I want to make magic like you do, Emma said. Sarah thought about this. The magic doesn't come from playing complicated pieces. It comes from playing with love, from sharing your feelings through music. You can make magic with any song if you play it from your heart. As Emma went upstairs to get ready for bed, Sarah stayed at the piano. She played softly, thinking about the past 6 months. She had started a scholarship fund at Emma's school for children who wanted to learn music but couldn't afford lessons. She had performed at fundraisers for the hospital. She had brought music to nursing homes and community centers. Most importantly, she had brought music back into her own life and her family's life. The talent show had been just the beginning. Sarah Martinez, the hospital worker who had been afraid to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, had become Sarah Martinez, the musician who brought joy to everyone who heard her play. Her mother had been right all along. Music was too important to give up forever. And when you played from your heart, beautiful things really did happen. Sarah played a few more notes in the quiet living room. Tomorrow she would call David Chun about the summer festival. She was ready for the next step in her musical journey, but tonight she was content to sit at her mother's piano, playing softly while her family slept upstairs. The music flowed from her fingers like a gentle river,